Are we all out in the middle of life? Or perhaps even better, in the middle of fantasy, which is certainly a better meadow. Is the picture in my background a meadow? I think that's a word I'm not completely familiar with. Like if you read fantasy, you probably read the word meadow at least once, right? And you have like an idea. You get it out of the context. But whatever. The point about fantasy is that we are here as every other week with the comics are fantasy, right? Comics recommendation for a week. It's another week. The last end of the year events are going strong. Having a lot of fun with both Age of Revelation and KO. I mean, how could you not? I have some mixed feelings, especially about Age of Revelation, but the latest one, the one with Blind Gambit, man, I keep forgetting the names. It was pretty intense. You don't really know what you like until you even sort of like not embrace, but you get the mere notion of something going away. In this case, was Rogues and Gambit's relation, right? In that comic, in the alternate future, X years from now, Rogue is dead, and it hit me so hard. There are some things that I want in comics to stay the same, and the relationship between Rogue and Gambit was one that I think it took way longer than it should to be what it is right now. So even the idea of losing that, man, wasn't that fun. But anyways, that's the past. Now it's the future. What's going on this week? Let's check it out. So, the previous Avengers cross Aliens, I think I mentioned it, right? Part of all of these, you can call it an initiative, perhaps, of what? Keeping these franchises alive now that who is it? No, it's Disney, right? Disney owns Fox, and yeah, so Disney just making use of all of their IPs. But the whole point is that, to me, when they started doing these crossovers, it's not like Marvel can't get violent on itself, right? It has its moments. Probably the most noteworthy moment of all time for Marvel was Marvel Zombies, which, for better or worse, we still have to this day. It's like a curse that never leaves. But anyways, Aliens versus Avengers was a pleasant surprise because I thought it had a great balance of the violence that is characteristic of the franchise Alien, but with a mix of Marvel lore. Of course, it was an alternative future, but when they do this alternative future and they exploit perfectly the character of the characters moving forward, is great. So the whole Alien versus Avengers was pretty great, and now we're getting Avengers versus Captain America. And it's always kind of strange when they try to put Captain America in more extreme situations, isn't it? Like he's such like a pure-hearted character, but he also punches everyone. So I wonder how is he gonna punch xenomorphs in the face. The point is, the previous iteration of the crossover was entertaining, lore-wise, it was appropriate, graphic and violent-wise as well. So I'm looking forward to whatever Alien does with Captain America. It's set on, I think, in an alternative past or maybe future, but the Red Skull is using xenomorphs to do Red Skull stuff. The story itself, it doesn't really matter to me because all of these alien things are happening in parallel universes. So, as I said with the Avengers introduction, I just want it to be faithful to the franchises and to the characters, and I think Aliens versus Avengers did that. So I'm looking forward to what they do with Captain America, which I think it will be okay. He will be for freedom punching xenomorphs. How they mentioned or said whether vibranium can withstand the acid of the xenomorphs? I guess it can, right? I don't remember if that happened in Alien versus Avengers, but it should. I mean, it would be a pretty lame, indestructible steel if it got corroded by fucking acid, right? Even if it's an alien acid. But whatever. This one looks fun. Next. So, this is speaking of Avengers. I knew it. I knew it was gonna be Kang again. I don't want to say Krang. I like to say Krang because it's from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But anyways, in the previous issue of the Avengers, they went all of these. They tried to reintroduce this new form of Kang, Mirrodin, and they went through different stages of the Avengers history, and they many of them, not necessarily, but some of them related to Kang, and I think there were some little tidbits of retconning in here and there, or like the point is Kang is just a mess of a character. He is, and I don't mean this in like an offensive way. It's just a mess because I don't think not even the hardest working like note taking obsessive minded nerd is completely aware of the whole timeline of this character. But in a way, that is what it makes him so attractive to bring into these storylines. This, like, I mentioned once how I would do like a tier list of Marvel villains. And when I think about it, you think about the practicality of some of these characters. Kang is one of those characters. They have built him as this ethereal, ever changing nemesis and sometimes even not friend but ally. They have crafted the perfect plot sort of generator enemy. And of course, coming back to Avengers, as I mentioned last week, looking forward for number 800 on the legacy numbering. Well, you can't go bad. All I know is that I knew it was him. It was pretty obvious. In practical terms, him being there and him being part of the current Jed McKay storyline, soon to be ending, as I mentioned last week, will Bendis be taking over? Who knows? But him being part of this is just an open invitation for all the classic alternative timelines and whatnot. And it's cool because I don't think they would do major status quo changes for the whole universe in just an Avengers book. But if you bring Kang in, you can still mess with some of the characters. You can still mess with some of the Avengers, which would be nice. I don't know if 800 is gonna have that interconnected sort of cover with every Avenger on it, and they are already teasing more previous Avenger returns in this issue and in the following ones. It's gonna be a nice ride, I guess. We only a couple of numbers before 800. I remember when they did the Amazing Spider-Man number 1000, I think it was. I never forget it. I saw the news and I saw the cover, and it was such a big deal. And now you think about all of these books coming into these like momentous landmark numberings. Wow, how long has it been, right? In from 800 to 1000 is not that long. I mean, how long will it take before we get to Avengers 1000? I hope we are all here to witness that. And maybe Mickey Mouse will be a member of the Avengers. He will be the true leader by number 1000, right? Okay, next. So we go back to DC to one book that has been surprisingly entertaining for me. Of course, Greg Rucka and artist Nicholas Scott, they are like high-profile writer and um, artists. But it's been surprisingly fun. For one reason, for me specifically, this book has revealed how much I love the character of Shira. I do. I think as more like many enemies on the DC roster, uh, I'm gonna say this lightly, but this is like a feeling, like a gut feeling. When you have these more ambiguous sort of rogues, this is also something that DC does better for some characters. Like when they do these rogue based enemies, either for the Flash Rogue Gallery, Batman's, in this case Wonder Woman slash Green Arrow or something like I don't know. They put more emphasis on it. Like, and if you compare that, the current state of books based on villains between Marvel and DC, yeah, you can see how they managed to do them well. I think that's one of the things that people rescued. I mean, not rescued. People took notice or acknowledge of on Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man is a strangely ambiguous book for its characters. The whole Mysterio collective, like you can't easily brand it as a villain. But anyways, Inshida and Sheshir of the Justice League, they have crafted a heist story, which I love. I love heist stories. But at the same time, they have managed to put so many sprinkles of humanity into these characters. And I think it's perfect that they chose Cheetah and Cheshire because they are both always so much in the middle. Like Cheetah has evolved into this really great character, and I love that. So they have exploded the grayness or the in betweens of these characters between being heroes and villains into this really funny heist story. And above everything, they are putting them in a current state of affairs. What I mean by this, they are not stealing like an alternate Justice League or like this is straight up recognizing the current state of the Justice League, the ultimate Justice League. Now the Justice League is like they're like I don't know. They've always been kind of like gods, but whatever. Now they're like really powerful. So it's a topical book for the current state of the DC universe with extremely fun characters, very well written, beautifully drawn. It's been super fun. So I highly recommend picking up Cheetah and Shashi Rob the Justice League. Big issue 4. I mean, I keep forgetting to skip this part of this lo-fi, the sun one. What is she even saying? I mean, I like it, but is she even saying anything? Whatever. Forgive me if I skip it. There you go. Anyways, this book is super fun. I've been loving it. It has brought me out of my Shida fan closet, I guess. But anyways, that's another good one. Let's go to the next one. So anyone knows, like, if you get like asked on the street, like, what the hell happened with Echo? Wasn't she the host of the Phoenix Force? Was she? I mean, she had like they did such a I don't know. It was such a big deal. It was such a big deal, and it just fucking went away. It just went away. Nobody can argue that something like big happened out of it. It seems like she got the Phoenix Force. Then like Jean Grey came back and she was like, okay, get the fuck out of here, girl. I'm the Phoenix. That's how I feel it. That's how I feel it. And I don't know, you could call it a little Echo Renaissance. I think the series was around there, right? Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe series, which personally I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't the best as None of these Marvel series have been in the last like 10 years or whatever. But as part of the Marvel Voices, the series of books that Marvel do to sort of champion the voices of minorities in the US. Yeah, it's mostly in the US. Like, who are we kidding? But they always do these books, so they bring a bunch of people that are representative of a certain culture, a certain social group, ethnicity, however you want to call it. But they say that this book, as part of the Marvel Voices, is gonna bring back Echo, which I don't know why she went away, but whatever. Right? So they're bringing back Echo as part of the Marvel Voices. Many times these Marvel Voices, they're good, and sometimes they have like really relevant and like important stories for sure. But in this case is sort of weird because as I said before, I'm talking about a character that was really big a couple of years ago, and then it went away. And as far as I know, none of the storylines or characters in this Marvel Voices book have really like exploded back into Marvel main continuity with Force. But regardless of that, I think it's a good way of bringing her back. But when I heard that she was gonna be like the headliner of these Marvel Voices, which by the way, one of the writers is Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas. I have nothing against Taboo, but whenever I think about him, I think about the Saturday Night Live sketch where he was played by Andy Samberg, I think, and Keenan Thompson one was the other Black Eyed Peas member, like who nobody remembers. And the whole joke of the sketch was like, "Oh, we are part of the Black Eyed Peas, but everybody only remembers and Will I Am and Fergie." That was a hell of a sketch. But anyways, at least we'll get an update on whatever Echo has been doing. And honestly, I completely forgot what happened to her, and I don't know if they ever explain what the hell happened with the Phoenix Force. Eh, who knows? I doubt they explain it here, regardless. Next. So, Joshua Williamson, probably one of the busiest people in comics, really doing some KO. I think the Flash. I think like whatever. The first like mini event of the Energon universe is yeah, it's not like a mini event, but it's like a like a relevant storyline. It's happening in GI Joe number 13. If anyone has been following the current Energon universe GI Joe at Image Comics, you have mostly been enjoying it. I've enjoyed it myself. I think the main weakness I think the current GI Joe run has as part of the Energon universe, that I think it has been a little bit slower if you compare it to Boy Rivals and Transformers. GI Joe has been a little bit slower. I think they have been threading lightly into bringing the other franchises into it too soon. So this Dreadnought work is interesting and exciting because it pairs Commander Cobra with Duke. What does this really actually means for the ongoing GI Joe comics is that Cobra, in this case, we already know that Cobra is an alien. We know Commander Cobra is an alien. So the whole, if you have seen or like experienced GI Joe from before, you know all about the Cobra, la 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 la. You know they're aliens and everything. So but now we have it mixed. You have Cobra people in Void Rivals, and so you are perfectly sort of mixing the whole Energon universe. But as I said, it has been slower than the other ones. So Cobra Commander is here. He is important, but you don't really feel the importance of him. That's sort of like the point. He still clashes with Destro, like in the old stories, but you haven't really seen him becoming Cobra Commander, like this really dictatorial huge figure. Like you haven't seen that. We haven't seen that yet. I hope that this Dreadnought, that's a hard word to pronounce. I hope this Dreadnought Wars does that, bring him back to the spotlight, and pushes a little bit forward in with a little bit more. I don't want I don't want this series to end soon or anything, but I don't know. I feel like they've been way slower than Transformers and Boy Rivals, which have been all over the place in a great way, not in a bad way. So this like in story event, if you wanna call it, Dreadnought War starts this week. Is a good pickup point for GI Joe since it has been so dispersed. We spent like 5 issues with a Baroness story, which it was great, but it wasn't part of the big picture. So I would recommend to jump into GI Joe with Dreadnought War. It's not that bad. I wouldn't do that for Boy Rivals, which is the most complicated and convoluted of the three of them. And Transformers got us like a jumping point like a couple of weeks ago. So they have crafted this Energon universe quite well. Let's hope this one does good for the old Cobra Commander. La 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 la. Next. Wow. We reach the point which I like to call the book of the week. I should have like a jingle. But Erica Henderson of course unbeatable Squirrel Girl fame, she's getting the writer privilege of, is it like retconning? I don't know, but she's writing a new origin story for, to me, DC's number one couple. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy get a new origin story, if you want to call it, from Erica Henderson herself in Harley and Ivy Life and Crimes. I'm so excited about this book. I mean, I don't. Erica Henderson, as a writer, like she's not as noteworthy, with all due respect, as she has been as an artist. I'm not saying anything bad, but like I wish I could have more knowledge of her as a writer. Like she's done so much art, and but what is the you could say like the true spirit of her writing credits? You know, because you think about Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, that was the shit. It was, or like she worked on Howard the Duck, I think, as well. But they were Starsky, and was Ryan North, I think he did the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. So I don't know, but anyways, still she is great. I love her art, and above everything, as I said, to me this is like the Fantastic Four. You know, the Fantastic Four. They say that this is the first family of Marvel. To me, Harley and Ivy are the first couple of DC, hands down, hands down. I think them being a couple reflected so many things, like the evolution of characters, sort of like the relativization of, I was gonna say bad guys, but yeah, guys is like non-gender, right? Or is it? Because often people even like group of like recognize women, like people that identify themselves as women, they call themselves guys. But anyways, to me, they are the story of redemption, but it's not like, you know, there's not like a cheesy story of redemption that they are like bad and they are good. What they did with the characters, how they expanded them, how even in the present time they have these really interesting books. I've recommended Ivy's like a lot of time by now. Like how they have evolved. They are like the blueprint for the villain that is not fully reformed. Like it's not a good guy, but it's a villain that is that is not monothematic. That is not so cartoonishly a villain that can provide interesting, heartfelt stories. That's the truth. Harley and Ivy are that for DC. They are the as I said, the blueprint, and I'm pretty excited to see what she does with them. Of course, this is a like a new origin story. It might have a lot of that in tropes, the origin story tropes. But man, it's exciting. It's exciting because especially in their own books, Harley and Ivy have been going their separate ways. I mean, they have. They always go like, oh, like Ivy remembers Harley and like I don't know, gives her a call, and they have a moment, and they sort of remember that they are the power couple that I know they are. They just they just charming when they're together. So let's see what Erica does with them. Of course, it's gonna be at least amusing, and I hope as full of heart as both of these characters deserve. That is one of the best thing about the relationship. It's sort of real and moving and fun. Anyways, Harley and Ivy is my book of the week. Next. Random thing. Looking at the list of like books, and like okay, like I know this. What is this about? Cold War, 1953. Something about Soviets, monsters. Yeah, it sounds like something like Image Comics would release on a weekly basis, isn't it? Like Cold War, monster, mysteries. But then I read that the author Travis Beacham wrote Pacific Rim, and I'm immediately interested. I love that movie. Is this just an excuse to talk about Pacific Rim? Perhaps. But Impact Winter #1, written by Travis Beacham, who wrote Pacific Rim. I got into this thought process of how how would I relate Pacific Rim to a story or like a detective mystery story set up during the Cold War. I have no fucking idea. And I get into thinking what made Pacific Rim so entertaining. And none of the things that make Pacific entertaining for me are easily translated into a story about the Cold War in Russia. No robots, no action, no awesome soundtrack. So this is not so much as a recommendation, but like I don't know, like how could you call it? Like a idea relation. What is the name of that thing when you get one idea and you start connecting it with another idea? It's like, oh yeah, this idea and this idea, this leads you to this leads you to that sort of thing. Does the fact that he wrote or he co-wrote Pacific Rim enough? Is that fact enough for me to be interested in this book? Yes. Is that for the good reason? Like, or like appropriate reasons, or if they are like appropriately well thought out on my mind? No. But still gonna check it out. If they get some, what was the name of the Russian robot in Pacific Rim? Excuse me. Yuri Yuri Robotsky. I don't know. No, they all have catchy names, right? It was like Chernobyl, right? Like Cherno Alpha, Cherno something. And I remember it was so funny because whenever that robot would appear on screen, they would put this like even even type of like generic Russian like we're Russians. What a good movie, man. Anyways, I don't know if I recommend this book, but if you like Pacific Rim and are as curious as me, might as well take a look at it. Impact Winter, Image Comics. Next. I already mentioned the GSA before, currently written by the one and only Jeff Lemire. one of my favorite writers of the last 10 years. And I also mentioned more than once how cool the DC does with the year one concepts. Now, doing a year one for the GSA is sort of like important to me, because even though I know of these characters, I think the GSA has always been, I don't want to say a lower tier, but it has been, it's not as big as the Batmans, and like, you have like the Sandman here, or like where Hawkman is probably gonna be around, and like you have all of these GSA characters, which are not, I don't want to say properly featured, because they're going you can get like crucified by like more hardcore comic people, and they're like, oh, the GSA, I've been there since the 60s, and like whatever. But anyways, I mentioned that I loved Jeff Lemire's run on the GSA, the current one. So him doing a year one story, I'm all for it. So it's always gonna keep reminding me how the live action Stargirl went away. Like, I really enjoyed that series. I think like out of all of those DC series, besides like the highlights in Arrow and everything, might be one of my favorite ones. So I'm really looking forward to see what Jeff Lemire does with these characters. And you can't really call it a reintroduction because they always been there, but every now and then all of these characters need a refresher. And since he's been doing such a good work with the normal GSA, like doing a story on the year one and these characters, I'm really looking forward to it, because you forget these characters because they're not Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They're GSA. And I don't mean anything mean by it. Next. Remember how I said that Batman, this is like a little update slash recommendation, and Joshua Williamson is there again with none other than Dan Mora. So Batman fell off the tournament really early, and this is KO. But he is Batman, so he has his own tie-in book, Night Fight, where like if you are not aware, as part of the KO event in DC, like the multiverse in DC is again in disarray. So you have people from different timelines and times just jumping through and through. So apparently Batman is gonna go into his own tournament kind of thing with another bad people from different universes or timelines. It gets fucked up. But it's a good excuse to see new Batman designs. Has anyone ever had this feeling that when they are not writing like an intense or dark, violent Batman, read Absolute Batman, when they're not doing that, they use Batman as sort of like a fashion show or something. Expect many bad designs by Dan fucking Mora. So like, I don't know. Is it gonna be highly related to KO? I doubt it. It's gonna be important for the plot. Maybe he's Batman, but above everything, we're gonna see one of the things that people seems to enjoy the most. I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy, and I'm not a hater, but just alternative Batmans, different Batsuits, different weapons. Like in the cover of the book, he's holding like a what is a bathleth, a Klingon bathleth, right? It's one of those type of blades. It seems to be a lot of fan service, but like yeah, every once in a while is not bad. And it's Dan Mora, a feast for the eyes. So Night Fight, part of the a tie-in for the DC's KO event. Yeah, yeah. Joshua Williamson, Dan Mora, might be just a fashion show, but a good one at that. Next. Quick update. I said last week, was it last week, that the book of the week was Miles Morales Spider-Man. It read on the cover the fallout from the, what was the title of the book? The Incursion. Like, I was so hyped. I was so Nothing happened. Nothing happened. So this is spoiler territory, but like, so Miles brought back from the Ultimate Universe a box with the, it's like a superhero generator. It's the thing that Tony Stark in the, is it the Ultimate Universe right now? We know it, they're gonna destroy it, and they heavily implied that that universe, that Ultimate Universe, was not the same as the one before. But Miles comes back. He regained all of his memories from the Ultimate Universe, and he brought a box that can make superheroes or something. I'm like, what? That's a big deal, and like nothing just happened. It was just a setup. It was just a setup. You can barely call that a fallout of anything. It was just a setup, and they're gonna store that knowledge and that thing for God knows how long they're gonna keep that in their pockets. They're just gonna keep that in their pockets to sometimes, like, sometimes so much time happens between one of these elements and when they actually use them, that when they use them they need to put a footnote in there. you know this happened during Miles Morales Ultimate Incursion in the year 2025. Fuck, it was a setup and I fell for it. Still love Miles. I'm still looking forward to the Ultimate Endgame, but Miles's part on it was only a setup. It was practical in meaning and in execution. Like, it was just a setup to have this bullet loaded for when they need it. I guess that's why the Ultimate Incursion was kind of like meh. It had its moment though, especially between Miles and his sister. But above everything, it was a setup, and I fell for it. Next. My final recommendation of this week is something that I don't know. I've been mostly warm to this. Like, I don't think if I've said it in this show before, but since Lemire's run on Moon Knight, I've been at best warm with Moon Knight. Jen McKay, who is also doing Avengers, is doing the Fist of Khonshu. It was like a soft reboot when Mark Spector, the Moon Knight, died for the last time. Now he's coming back, and they are like sort of making the whole Midnight Mission, which was his center of operations and the source of the mystique of the character, the current mystique of the character, which was this kind of like problem solver in the supernatural sense. So in this new story arc, they are helping the Wrecker, one of the classic Marvel villains, who has this haunted crowbar. Yeah, it's a crowbar, and it's like the perfect setting, like half dark, half violent, half mystical. You know, and they are using like what is the name of the character they created for the series that they brought to the comics, like so seemingly with no effort, that the woman that was Mark Spector's like wife, I think in the series it was his wife or something, but they were lovers, they were in the military together, and now they both have like ancient Egyptian powers. Whatever. I think the current Feast of Khonshu, now we're Moon Knight number 14, it has been a little bit better, but still has avoided like grabbing me entirely. I think the storyline with the Wrecker is a little bit more interesting because, as I mentioned, it's mixing all of these elements. I'm not a Wrecker lover or anything, but they are also fooling around with Mark Spector's personal life, because he's having marital issues. He's not married, but like he's having love interest issues. It's getting a little bit more complete as a story. This wasn't my ideal direction for the character. I wish they went back into the whole deep craziness, and also I hate him in Marvel Rivals. I hate this character. I think the characters I've come to hate the most in Rivals are the ones that do so much aiming wise with so little effort. That thing where you throw that shit on the floor and then just shoot at it like a moron, you know? Or like Scarlet Witch not aiming. Like at least the other characters that don't aim, like Cloak and Dagger, you still need to turn into Cloak. Then you need to to turn into Dagger because you are also a healer. So you need to aim while you are a Dagger. So it's an added difficulty. But these characters, man, how can they ditch so much damage with so little effort? It just pisses me off. How is that related to the book? I don't know, but there you have it. Anyways, Moon Knight Face of Khonshu number 14. I think the record story, I think it began one or two issues before, but it's a good way to pick up the story. And if you're interested in the character, this is mildly to me more entertaining than everything that happened during the Blood Hunt and everything, like, or the latest death of Moon Knight. They always do. They put it on the title, the death of the character, and you're like, okay. The latest death was meh. Start rating it by death. Well, that's it for me this week. I don't know how to say about the week. I think we're gonna be in sort of transition weeks all the way to the end of the year, which is coming too soon. I think we're gonna be in a transition mood for many of these books and stories, looking forward for the end of the year and whatever fallout you get from KO and the Age of Revelation and the new authors coming in. Yeah. After everything, I guess at the end of the day, everything is exciting, except facing Moon Knight in Marvel Rivals. That's my time. Keep enjoying comics, reading, thinking about superheroes. I know I will, and the moon will hunt me. It will. See you all next week. Thank you for listening.